Hey, Joe.
Howdy.
How you doing? They're going to play the intro, and then we'll get the show on.
Right on the microphone?
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Pretty fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
There we go.
Welcome to Fire Medical Speaking with McEvoy. Here's Mike.
Hello, and welcome to Fire Medically Speaking on Blog Talk Radio. We are actually live on this show at the FDIC conference in Indy. And for those who are here, we'll see you on the show floor later this week. We have a bunch of our authors and EMS speakers who are presenting at the conference. Most of those folks are on Friday. Rami Duckworth, Karen Owens, our guests on our show last Friday. John Sponeholtz is actually doing his class on hospice patients and EMS response. As I always mention, we encourage you to take a look at our website on fireengineering.com and like us on Facebook under Fire EMS. And our show today has a unique guest who is going to talk to us a little bit about one of the products that I had mentioned on our Friday show that we'll see on the show floor. Our guest is Joe Borgat, who is the CEO of Furno. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good, good. You want to give us our listeners a little bit of background on your role and your company and kind of how you got to where you are?
Absolutely, Mike. It's great to be with you and all your listeners today. Furno's been at this EMS market for well over 60 years, and many of the products today that are in the market are a result of the development of two guys, El Borgat, my father, and a partner, Dick Furno. And no matter if it's a scoop, stretcher, or the AED for extrication of a patient, or any of the cots, gurneys, stretchers that in their designs, and many of the copycats in the marketplace, they've all been based off of the Furno designs. We come out of this long history of EMS and mortuary marketplace providing a product. What we did about 12 years ago, Mike, was we went after and worked with special operations quite extensively and developed a whole range of products that supported the two war efforts of Afghanistan and Iraq. We did them in the areas of marine trauma bays, air mobile surgical tables, and a whole host of transport devices that would help soldiers in the field of battle. So, in 2009, we started to really work on what we have now labeled the 2020 vision. We've been running some series both in fire engineering, EMS magazines like GEM and EMS World to really highlight the issue direction that we believe in the market of emergency care. That really focuses around a safer environment for both the medic and the patient inside the ambulance. That's where we sit today. And at FDIC, we will be highlighting really two components of that system. One is the integrated patient transport zoning system called the INAX. The second, we will have an ambulance first in the marketplace with we call the INTRAC system. INTRAC is an integrated ambulance component system that allows you to easily and modularly move things around inside the ambulance, yet meeting the new crash standards that will exist in the market here come September of 2015 when the federal specifications will be changing. And through NFPA and the CAS standards boards, they've written those specifications as the new applications, not only here in the United States, but also in the overseas market, in particular Australia, Europe, and Japan, which also are three bodies that have standards for ambulances, how they should be built and operated in those markets.
That's neat. And last year, some of your folks came with the NX stretcher, which was the cot, which was introduced here at FDIC, and that was actually, if folks remember, that was one of our largest watched shows that we've ever had on Firemetically Speaking. This year, there's kind of a proof of concept of all those things that you had mentioned that's going to be demonstrated on the show floor in the form of an ambulance, right, a Beta vehicle.
Correct. That would be an Intrax integrated ambulance component system.
And the one that's actually out there is in Missouri, in Lasky County, Missouri.
Correct. That's been running for about 2 months now over at Lasky County, Missouri. And that is the first SAE compliant ambulance anywhere in the United States. And we've worked with an ambulance builder by the name of Osage to integrate tracks in the mounts and brackets in order to hold all of the equipment and the monitoring equipment, but also what we call safe packs on the walls. And really what it allows you to do is eliminate a lot of the cabinets and unnecessary storage capacity that was really inhibiting the movement in the ambulance, as well as easy reach and access for the medical supplies while the medic was needed during transport.
The method that they're allowing those items to be secured is kind of something drawn from the airline industry.
It is just like in an airplane. They can take an airplane, convert it from a passenger aircraft into a freighter aircraft very quickly because of track systems involved in the floor. We did the same basic concept in the military, but we ended up having to couple those together and do a higher G-rate crash stability rate than traditional single track systems. So ours is actually a triple track concept that allows it to be torqued in all 5 axes and get strain and crash stable for that environment.
And the reason why that additional G rating needed to be used in the ambulance environment is because of the SAE you mentioned, which is Society of Automotive Engineers, for our listeners that aren't engineer savvy. That's because of their requirements for ambulances.
Correct, Mike. That's the new standard that comes about in September of 2015. The federal government with NIOSH and NIOSH, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and NIST, the National Institute Standards and Testing. And both NIST and NIOSH have been doing the last 5 years a lot of testing, crash testing, and standards development to create a safe operation of the ambulance and inside the ambulance for the medic limitation. So both of those agencies created standards that range from 20 G crash standards in forward and rear direction to a 26 degree crash standard in the side by side. So those new standards come about 2015 here, later part of third quarter. And these are the first products that we, I don't believe anybody else in the marketplace have crash tested to that new standard and will be able to offer in the marketplace.
That's impressive. And that's, I mean, we've said repeatedly on this show, and I think just about anybody who's involved in the fire service and EMS recognizes that you are far safer in a piece of fire apparatus today than you are in an ambulance. Almost all of the ambulances that we're riding around in today are really modified RVs that haven't made much improvement on safety since their inception in the 70s.
Well, as you know, Mike, we at Furno believe very strongly that the value of life is very high, and if you look at cross police, fire, and EMS in the police market, quite often they end up having to buckle the prisoner in the back seat. The fire market, we've now designed very plush, nice seats that contain the firemen with their breathing apparatus, CPAs on. Why we accept the fact that we put medics in the back of an ambulance and kind of rolling down the road through red lights and other things where high potential of crash potential happen. It's just unacceptable. They need to be able to go home and reassure their family that when they go on duty and when they come off duty, that they're going to be safe, be able to return home each night.
So some of the design of that, in order to get to the point where we can have the medic actually restrained, that one of the things with the Lasky vehicle is that the medic is sitting next to the patient facing forward, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, right next to them. Yeah, far enough away if there's to be bad for a GP patient that the medic can move and get out of what I call the striking distance and close enough that they can reach equipment on the opposing wall or care for the patient seated in one of the two seats that are available in the ambulance, which is right at the side of the patient or at the head end of the patient.
Okay. And then the restraint system, is that a 3-point, 4-point, 5-point?
Today, that's a 3-point restraint system for the medic, and the medic is seated in a plastic chosen EBS seats. EBS is a wide, well-known wide provider of seats by the ambulance. And so both the head and the side seat are yes. Now the patient is also has a new restraint system that is 20 feet crash standard. That new restraint system attaches below the shoulder blades of the patient, comes up over the shoulders, and the new crash standards that will also be mounted.
And that has something to do with the mounting of the cot itself, right?
Correct. That's done, as you, I think, saw last year in X. It is designed and integrated into the current Furno line of products. We started with the X, now retrofitted to both 35X, the 93, and the PowerFlex products. So it is a restraint system that fits all of the complete suite of Furno products.
Good. Well, I would pause for a second just to mention to people who might be listening that you feel free to call into this show since we're live, kind of unique. Oftentimes we pre-record our show ahead of time. Since we're live, you can call into area code 760-454-8852. So that's 760-454-8852. And I'm Mike McEvoy, the EMS editor for Fire Engineering. Our guest on the live FDIC show is the CEO of Furno, who has been talking about a prototype beta vehicle, kind of proof of concept of some of the work that Furno has done in the industry over the last couple of years. And I guess one thing that the question that comes up oftentimes about Furno, Joe, is they were kind of not visible for several years, and it sounds like from what you were talking about earlier that Furno spent a lot of time with the military effort in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now that most of your work in that environment is done, you're dedicating a bunch more energy to making the EMS marketplace move along a little bit.
Absolutely, Mike. mentioned, for those listeners out there, that ambulance we had approved at 11:43. As they brought in, coming through the ambulance interior, and talked to users that currently have that ambulance on the road. But the board has been working very aggressively on really reshaping the entire, transforming the entire emergency care environment. I think the key element, and as numerous people have spoke about technology, where it's going, and what we're doing in it, you got to look forward and anticipate where the market's going. So, as some examples, let me give you. One is when a device, if as you're loading the patient, the ambulance reads that the patient has a pacemaker, that the patient may have a implanted electrical stimulation device in the brain, that the patient may be wearing their Fitbit, and capture data off those and provide them automatically to your monitor so that you are aware of it, or it may have already retrieved that EKG for you and brought it down to the monitor so you can see that they have a pacemaker or an implanted electrical brain stimulator, or a Fitbit. The guy just worked out for the last hour, and you know what you're dealing with. You're much more informed as a care provider. So as these technologies become more prevalent in our society, we have to anticipate and create an environment inside that ambulance that will be very receptive and anticipatory to your care of that patient. You know, we're always out there looking for those kind of things, and if we can bring those technology things about them and incorporate them into the ambulance in the future.
So now we're talking about some very futuristic things. Let me back up for a second, because I definitely want to go down this road a little bit more with you. The beta vehicle that Lasky County is using, what's the concept of expense that would have compared to what you would pay for a conventional ambulance today?
It might be the target is to equal or be less than your existing ambulance structure. So we really provide a component set. We'll help users identify what that component set requirement is for their operating environment. So if they're more a hospital or nursing home, a hospital type transports, if they're more 911 transports, if they're more critical care and NICU. So those environments require different settings. And so we will work with the user to really, the fire service, or to really put together what their requirements are. And we'll both approach and discuss with the ambulance builder how to incorporate the system and make it most flexible and user. And therefore we can come in at or below the pricing structure that you generally see today.
I guess in the concept, the design of this, there are some things that probably one of the more expensive things we do in the inside of an ambulance right now is the cabinetry. And I guess we're talking about considerably less, if any, cabinetry in this sort of a design concept. More things that you can snap onto the wall and then actually move into a new vehicle. So probably considerable cost savings there.
That's right, yeah. So there's certain things that you don't use that often in the ambulance. You may even need on a seasonal basis a hot box that will keep your IV and blankets warm so patient. So you may take it out during the summer months. You may actually put it in a cool box. Yet when you go to replace that ambulance, you don't need to discard the hot box box. You can take it and move it to new ambulance with the in-traffic system. So it gives you immense flexibility, cost reduction, and modular
guess there may be some potential when you look at inventory and turnover of equipment and expiration dates and that sort of thing. There might be some potential in using a system that's modular like that to actually maybe make it more efficient and perhaps less costly than having those supplies.
Most definitely. The cabinets, I was talking not too long ago with one of the state EMS officials that likes ambulances. He said, yeah, I always find it funny how new ambulance comes online and think everything, old ambulance, they just move it over. They've never used some of those things. They have 6 OB kits on board, and our state regs say they only have to have 4, so they're going to be safe to have 6. They've been on there for 3 ambulances now, and they don't need it. So the ambulance to take off all that unnecessary equipment and really reduce the inventory counts. But there's also like turnaround issues, so you can quickly adapt for your ambulance. So if it comes back from base station, putting them back online, how to be readily able to be done, cleaned and safe, and being ready for that next call. So having an ambulance that is clean, reconfigure, and placed back in service. So,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, and then in many ways, that's how we expedite things in the hospital setting. We have wall-mounted rolling carts that are just sent to a supply place and exchanged, so that we can rapidly turn things around. It makes sense in the environment. Okay, well, so let's go back a little bit. We don't have anyone on the phone right now, do we, Scott? Let's go back and talk some more about the ambulance of the future, because I really like some of these concepts, and think about many different kinds of technology that are available to us. And, once we get past this point of trying to make an ambulance a little bit safer for the occupants, then I think we really need to think about patient care in some of the ways that we could utilize technology a little bit more in our day-to-day operations. Would you anticipate differences in some of the monitoring and computer systems and that sort of thing that we're utilizing?
absolutely. All the monitoring companies, particularly companies, ventilator companies, they're all working on new technology, smaller, lighter weight, and being able to link to a control system on the airline, and really the future. There's really a number of technologies that can incorporate the future, but for the day, there's some basic ones. A basic one is an example today that we're delivering. So at 11:53, you'll see the ambulance there. And today, everybody's putting the tracks on themselves. But as the doctor said to me out in New Orleans, hey, why don't I put those tracks on the outside of the ambulance? I can take those chairs and that oxygen system and mount them on the outside of the ambulance to provide support for anything from the fairs and festivals that you find in New Orleans, but also for marathon or for fire rehab. If I've got some fire coming out of a blaze or a building, and I want to do some rehab on, then you have to sit outside the ambulance and take some oxygen prior to turning around, but back in. So while it's very simple to put tracks on the outside, out there, and put oxygen systems out there, it's not done today. And it's really thinking about different ways to accomplish using some basic technologies to do that. As you move forward, integrating newer technology like monitors and ventilators and other things into the data repository inside the ambulance will become the default standard that all the components should talk together and be able to communicate them command or dispatch for the hospitals, but also amongst other vehicles en route or on scene. So there's a lot of opportunities that will be coming down the pipe to integrate ambulances into a intelligent highway and overall data system in the future.
Do you see issues between manufacturers and being able to exchange information? I mean, I know we've struggled for a medical Bluetooth protocol for the last few years, and still really haven't settled on something that everybody can buy into. And I know between the three major monitor defibrillator companies that there's a lot of issues with how data is transmitted from those devices into other systems. Do you see problems with trying to get those folks integrated if you're going to try to pull some of that data into a vehicle system?
Well, at the end of the day, the health information exchanges are going to sort out, of course, some of these vendors to talk between each other, be it at a Cerner Epic level or at which are hospital-based patient reference systems, right? Or at a individual medical platform level. They're all going to be forced to communicate. I think, we can talk between Windows and Apple, but there's no reason we can't talk between the soul and the physio and communicate their information into and out of an ambulance to other devices in the healthcare environment.
You got a question in the chat room? It said, will this new vehicle interior be compliant with the new ambulance standards?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the chat room, they're asking, will this data ambulance be compliant with the new ambulance standard? And I guess one of the things Joe alluded to earlier was we have NFPA 1917 standard, which will probably be approved in June. NFPA meeting this year. We have the CAS standard, which will, I imagine, come into effect sometime this fall. We know that the GSA, General Services Administration, and the federal government, who has published the Triple K standard, will cease publishing that standard as of the fall when the NFPA and the CAS standards come out. So I'm going to imagine from what you said, Joe, that with the SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, new standards that go into effect this fall, along with those other two, that this kind of complies with those and maybe even exceeds what's in the current CAS and NFPA standards.
That's right, Mike. They do comply with those standards, and those are national standards. And what has to happen is each of the states have to adopt those into their governing rules, and that's done through the National Association of State Officials. And actually, they're meeting this week down in San Antonio, and in the October time frame, they will be adopting the September authored NFPA and SAE standards into their existing state level standards. Most of the time, it takes anywhere from 9 to 12 months to 9 to 18 months, somewhere in that, to incorporate those into their individual state laws and move forward as a new ambulance standard.
And this is kind of interesting. Our listeners probably remember we had Jennifer from NIST on our show a few months back, and Jennifer talked about the work that the National Institute of Standards and Technology has been doing on ambulances and how that interplays into the work of CAS and NFPA. But we really, when we look around the country, we know that very few states have actually adopted the Triple K as a standard. They take pieces of it and use it as regulation in the states. Nobody really bit on the first edition of the NFPA 1917, and I'm not so sure even if NASEMSO, the group that we were just referring to, adopts either of the standards in the fall, that it's going to quickly become state-regulated requirements. I almost think that over the course of time, what's happened with purchasers is they've looked at how manufacturers are building ambulances and what they'll be compliant with, and they've elected to buy something that is affordable and safe for their providers. And I think we're kind of at a very interesting turning point with safety, and that may well determine how things unfold as we move forward. I don't necessarily see that we're going to see a wholesale adoption by states of either standard.
But I can tell you, Mike, that most of the both NIOSH and NIST, and I know that we have done it, and a number of the ambulance manufacturers themselves have been briefing those state officials on progress each of the companies or individual rulemaking bodies that have had ongoing to the new standard. So EMS officials aren't blind to this activity. They're very knowledgeable of it ongoing for the last several years and are ready to adopt those into their regulation at the state level. So, most of this kind of changeover will be embraced, I think, on a wider perspective this time around, because there's no science behind crash testing and lay out the activity going on in the factory. Things versus a couple of active manufacturing back of the truck.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it occurs to me that that's something that at fire engineering that we could probably take advantage of getting out to our listeners and our readers, is that there's a ton of data that's come out of NHTSA and NIOSH and National Institute for Standards on crash testing and anthropometric data and things that have really, as you alluded to, created some science around how to make the vehicle and the environment of care safer for the patient and safer for the providers. We probably need to do the same thing as we're seeing in the fire service, and take some of those videos and take some of that data and make it available to our readers and our listeners, and show folks exactly what the difference between what you're driving around in now and what you could be driving around in, and why the standards have gone in the direction they've gone. There certainly is just a plethora of data. Having served on the 1917 committee since its inception, I've been able to see a lot of that information as it's come out. And I think that probably trying to put that together, package it, and get it out to folks so that they have some appreciation of the science that we refer to as an important part of getting some progress made in this business.
Well, like one of the biggest things that can be done, and you're right, getting that package down there widely available would be nice. Some of that is already out there. I know that NIOSH has posted some of those videos. I believe if you Google them and put ambulance crash testing in the subject line, probably pull up a few of those videos. The one that really strikes me hardest is the one where patients laying on a stretcher and they are in a crash with an ambulance, and the camera view is directly above the patient bed, so they see the extension of the patient modeling into the stretcher and into the family view.
Yeah.
And it is not a pretty scene anyway. And so a lot of medics immediately remove those shoulder straps, thinking that they're not
think we're pretty much out of time. Do you have any final comments? Again, remind us of where the booth is.
Yeah, it's the front of booth at booth 1143, and we're glad to show you how we're looking to transform emergency care with ambulance.
Good.
We appreciate today, Mike, being able to share that with you on our medical.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll have this show archived and make it available on our webpage along with our other shows. We also hope to do some recording of some other folks who are experts in the ambulance business talking about making a safer environment of care during the show, and we'll archive those and include those in the future episodes of Environmentally Speaking. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you if you're here in Indy at FDIC. And I'm Mike McEvoy. This is Environmentally Speaking.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're coming to you live at FDIC in Indianapolis. This is John Walters from Sons of the Flag, and we got quite a large group with us today. Today is Tuesday, the 21st of April. Time is flying. I will start to my right, your left if you're viewing, and let everybody introduce themselves, and then we got a whole lot to talk about FDIC International. So we'll start over here on my right. You can introduce yourself and just tell us what you do for Sons of the Flag.
My name is Curtis Bell. I'm the director of the Water Brigade and the program coordinator, which the Water Brigade is our pediatric burn camp program.
I am Ryan Parrott, aka Birdman. I am the founder, president, and CEO of Sons of the Flag.
Yeah. And I am the National Task Force Director, and we'll keep it moving down the line.
My name is Josh Santiago. I am the assistant director for the Water Brigade.
My name is Glenn Burnett. I'm from Virginia Beach, and I assist with the task force leader in Virginia.
All right. So we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, Birdman. It's been a while since we got you on the radio.
It is. I'm a little nervous today.
I'm telling you. Anyway, we're overlooking the show right here. So first, let's start off with our booth. If you want to come by to see us, is going to be 4544. So it's booth number 4544. And if you look for the big sign, it says Knox, for the Knox Box Corporation. We're right around there. It's hanging up in the air, so you can't miss us. And anyway, for those of you looking for some new swag and apparel, we are going to have Sons of the Flag shirts, Water Brigade shirts, challenge coins, and a bunch of stuff. More importantly, we're going to have a book that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But first, let's go over a little bit about the FDIC, where you can see some of us from Sons of the Flag, or sometimes even all of us. So we will be around tomorrow. We'll be here setting up, obviously, at the booth. Again, it's 4544. And tomorrow we're going to try to attend a class for behavioral health issues in the fire service with Battalion Chief Dan DeGrice from Chicago Fire Department. And tomorrow, for anybody that's interested, is the Fool's Bash. Tomorrow, that starts at 5 o'clock. Thursday is loaded. Thursday day, we will be here in our booth, and I am teaching a class at 1:30 in Lucas Oil Stadium, room MR 1 and 2, and going to attempt to run a 5K. You running a 5K? No way. Who's running the 5K? Come on, guys. Everybody got 2 legs, and I'm the one doing the 5K. So anyway, the 5K, the Courage and Valor Run is at White River Park at 6 o'clock, and Terry Farrell Fun, with our buddy Brian Farrell, is running a Jim Beam party at Basie's Downtown Grill. Well, can't say enough about Brian. The Stop, Drop, Rock and Roll is on West Washington Street. That's for National Fallen Firefighters Foundation on Friday. Booths open all day again. Stair climb, the 9/11 Memorial Stair climbs in Lucas Oil Stadium. Don't forget to wear your Dallas Cowboys apparel. It's at 1:30, and Saturday the booths open during the day again also. Anybody wants to come and help us clean up afterwards is more than welcome to come too. So Curtis, let's talk a little bit about the Water Brigade, because that's something new that we did not have last year at this time. So maybe you can give our listening audience just a little bit about Water Brigade and what it entails.
Yeah, little history on it. I've personally been involved with Parkland Burn Camp, which Parkland is the regional burn center for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Been involved with their pediatric burn. Since the camp has been open, we've taken a fire truck down there and made some sort of makeshift water park based off of the fire truck. It's kind of evolved over the years, especially within the last 6 years. It's evolved very rapidly. Last year, I caught wind of an organization called Sons of the Flag. Did a little research on them and found out who they were, and thought they need to see burn camp. And so a couple phone calls later, got Birdman and Zane Crimpin out there, and they fell in love with it, and it kind of made us, we kind of knew we had something special, but they kind of brought it to life just how special it was, and it's been an awesome partnership ever since, and we've got a few things in the works this year that are going to make this year's burn camp the best it's ever been. So a lot of stuff going on with that right now that still in the works. So I don't want to disclose too much. But.
It's a really cool thing, and for anybody that hasn't listened to us on the radio talk about it, people that have been to the children's burn camps, they don't say that they're good. They say that they're life altering. That's how good of an experience it is. And for people to say that it's life altering, that really says something about how good the experience is, and that's just unbelievable. And Bird, how do you feel, man? You put this all together, and we got wheels spinning in multiple directions now.
It's unbelievable the transformation we've had just in those 3 years. Adding to what Curtis was saying about the Water Brigade, through our task force initiative and the Water Brigade, we were able to donate $44,000 last year to burn camps across the country. And so that's helping facilitate this program. Other places, somewhere we've not been. So that's huge gains for us. And it really is something, if you get the chance to go to burn camp to be a volunteer, to be on staff, I suggest you try it because it will change your life. Yeah, 3 years we're here, and we're continually growing every year, and we're seeking, always finding new things and new innovative things to get in touch with. And our group just keeps getting bigger and bigger because there's so many people who care about doing great things for America. And also, I mean, firefighters love hanging out with firefighters. I just get to be a fly on the wall.
All 40,000 of us this week. Before I forget, if anybody has a question about any of the stuff that we're doing, or even if you know a burn survivor, need help or anything like that, the call-in number is 760-454-8852. And we are being streamed live on Google Hangout too. So you can get in touch with us at 760-454-8852. And is it hashtag FETalk?
FDIC 2015.
FDIC 2015.
Yes.
So it's hashtag FDIC 2015. You can have your questions live on the air. And I think, Bert, as you alluded to, raising $44,000, and my math is correct, I think we went to 18 camps that we gave money to. That's correct. So we have the guys at the camps, like these two gentlemen here, and then we have a guy like Glenn who helped facilitate raising some money. We just did a clay shoot a month ago in Virginia Beach where Glenn is a captain at. And, the clay shoot went unbelievably. It was kind of a weird thing. The Navy SEALs that were coming got deployed at the last minute and were not able to attend it, but we still ended up doing pretty well, even though it rained in the morning. And but this is what it takes. We can't do stuff without money, so it takes guys like yourself, Glenn, to be able to step up and run an event. And then we have, not only did everybody have a good time, but we actually have money now, so that at the end of this year we can do something to facilitate helping kids again, or whatever else we could get involved with the burn community. And I think it's just a great thing, and it's like everything's going full circle on us now. We got all the way from the top down. We run around and money goes all the way through. Come on in, Scott. You can pull up a chair with us. And our Indiana Task Force leader, Scott Isaacs, is with us. How you make it out, Scott?
Good. And we'll break from the boss for a while.
So Scott's busy with Chief Halton this week, and we thank you for that, and helping out Sons of the Flag too. And Scott, we were just talking about around the table here about how we do events to raise money, and then we ended up this year being able to donate the money to the camps. And then we got these guys from the Water Brigade part of Sons of the Flag being able to execute at the camp, having a water park, and having a lot of fun with the kids. And I can't think, maybe the military, but outside the fire service, I can't think of a better group of guys to be playing games with kids than firefighters.
No, it's funny. I was talking with Father John, who gives the invocation and opening ceremonies, and part of his opening comments is actually equating firemen to kids, the way we act, the way we carry our jobs. It's kind of funny to bring that up.
So, and it's a quite humbling thing too, because not only am I on the same wavelength, but I'm about the same height too, so I get along with kids really good. So it works really well that way. But in all seriousness, we have a couple more people from Sons of the Flag coming to the convention here. Greg Turnell is coming. He's our Northeast Regional Director. Heath Floor is coming. He's our West Coast Regional Director. Ryan Brotherton's coming. He's from Ohio Task Force. Scott Ash is coming. So we have a whole host of people, and including we've had some volunteers that wanted to help at the show last year with our booth, who are coming back this year to help. So it's I can't say enough about FDIC and Chief Halton's opportunity for us to be on the air and have a I guess you would call a vehicle for us to put our message out there to the fire service and recruit some of it, because quite frankly, it works well for us having days off to be able to do stuff for these burn survivors. And I'm sure, like Curtis with the Water Brigade, it helps having you guys do ABC shifts and so forth. I don't understand that for the life of me. When I started explaining the New York City schedule, nobody understood it either. As Bird likes to say, we're just on duty, we don't get off duty.
Correct.
So one of the coolest things that I wanted to talk about is in 2012, when Sons of the Flag was formed, you had this great idea to have a not small event to kick us off, because nothing we do is ever small, except for me. So we had an idea to do the skydive event with a firefighter, or not a firefighter, but a veteran from every war, from World War II, all the way through till today. And we did a skydive event with the Army Golden Knights, which I thought, if I'm going to jump out of a perfectly good plane, I might as well do it with people that know what they're doing. And, you know, quite honestly, being the only guy that was not in the military, it was a big honor for me, because I'm not in the military. And, you know, after we were attacked on 9/11, the military took the fight back to where it came from and tried to even the score for us or whatnot. But that being said, that we did it again the following year and actually added 2 World War II guys, which was unbelievable. And it was such a big hit with people that everybody decided to get their story put down in print.
Correct.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about how that book came about?
Sure. So it was about 4 years ago, I actually thought about putting some documentation together of my stories, just for something that I could give my kids someday, because I'm starting to forget some of the stories about, you know, the occurrences in the military. But I found there was a thing with different books in the military. They always answer the question of what we do. They don't really articulate why we do what we do, which is the most important question. So I went off on an adventure to answer that question. And when I answered the question, I felt like a hypocrite, because now I'm answering this why for every soldier, past, present, and future. That's too much weight to bear. So I started recruiting, and we had the perfect group of people to go recruit from. So the book is called Sons of the Flag, and it's real accounts from the last 100 years of American service. And it has a soldier from every war, from World War II to present day, on why they did what they did. But the most important thing to me is we fought a war in our lifetime in this country, which was 9/11. And the firefighters were the ones who came and stepped up to the flag and fight that war. And so we included 2 firefighters in this piece too, so that they can tell their story and why they chose to go and do what they did. One of them singing right here. And it's a very, very unique book. We're going to be doing a book signing out here, and we're going to be selling them at our booth. And it was just an incredible adventure for 3 years to write this. And there is a twist at the end of the book, which I will not give away, because you're just going to have to come buy one or 20.
And would you like to mention also that the foreword in the book was written by everybody's favorite editor-in-chief?
That's correct.
Yeah. None other than Chief Halton.
Once you read his foreword in the book, I kind of had to rewrite the whole book.
He's a hard act to follow.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So the foreword in the book looks like War and Peace, and then there's the rest of the book. He's very articulate the way he writes, and you know, like I said, we can't thank him enough for what he's done for Sons of the Flag, and you know, everybody benefits from the burn survivors and whatnot. I would like to be a little bit selfish to plug my class on Thursday, and at the same time, I would like it to be known that Rob Wheatman, who was the other firefighter that has a chapter in the book, I talked to quite a bit, and my class on Thursday is about how to deal with major line of duty injuries, and Rob Wheatman's story is going to be featured in the class. And it's a pretty good movie about him and stuff like that. So although Rob could not be here because he's busy trying to be an officer, much to your chagrin, he's studying for the lieutenant's test. So Rob, we wish you well on the lieutenant's test. I hope you have another lucky Saturday. And we miss you here, but like I said, you know, the class is about major line of duty injuries, and Rob will be featured in that as well as featured in the book at the booth. How much is the book selling?
$150. Just kidding. $27.99.
$150. I don't have to get another job to afford.
For charity.
Anyway, so that's a lot of the stuff we have going on at Sons of the Flag, and if you can see us on the Google Hangout, you will actually see we look like a clothing apparel company with different Sons of the Flag where everybody's got a different shirt on, except Scott, because he's playing fire chief in Indianapolis here with Chief Alton. But so we got some really cool stuff to wear down there, and anybody has any questions, 760-454-8852. Scott, you got anything on the show that you want to bring up?
No, I mean, just the show's going really good. You know, as usual, we're growing again. It looks like we're going to have close to 35,000 firefighters in town from around 50 different countries. So it really, truly is an international deal. So it's good exposure for Sons of the Flag. It's good for us. And, you know, Bobby always wants me to plug some of the things that are, you know, really important to the fire service. And obviously, probably the most important one tonight is the cancer comedy show for the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. So they're going to be out there raising money for the support.
It's at the Marriott?
It's at the Marriott. You know, the unfortunate stat they throw out right now is that the Firefighter Cancer Support Network is gaining about 6 to 8 members a day. So it's an impressive stat, but it's impressive on the wrong side of things.
You know, not to cut you off, I just wanted to mention that I was doing some research for my class, and there's a picture I have. I couldn't tell you how many names are on the wall at the FDNY headquarters of every person that died in the line of duty. It's astronomical, this plaque that they have there. But from what I'm told, it's over 100 people from cancer now since 9/11.
We actually have one of our captains here in Indianapolis that was deployed out there and worked the file, and he just recently diagnosed with one of the cancers that's been associated with that.
So in my hometown in New York, where I was former chief, the young guy, Brian, that's the chief now, Brian Waterson, he had come up with cancer, and I'm glad to say that he beat it. He had testicular cancer, and another guy that I grew up with, Muggsy, his name is Mike Pickering, but everybody just knows him as Muggsy. They don't even know his name is Mike. He did 40-something years up there, and he moved down to Myrtle Beach, where I am, a year ago, and he had some back problems and went to the doctor. They couldn't figure out what's wrong with him, and it turns out he's got cancer. So he's going for treatment all last week, and I think he's off this week. And when I get home Sunday, I told him this coming week I'm going to drive him to his chemo treatments and stuff. But he was a big supporter of Sons of the Flag too, and he's interested in helping when we do the Children's Burn Camp in Charleston this coming summer. And of course, Mark Haddon, our South Carolina task force leader, he's been a counselor at the camp in Charleston. So we were in touch with them about the water brigade, and they actually had slated to do a carnival at their camp, but now they want to do a water carnival. So some really cool stuff going on, and it's really cool. So I don't know if we've mentioned it, but we're partnered with Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston and Brook Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Parkland Hospital, Dallas, Texas. Bird, you just went to the symposium at the JMS Burn Foundation in Augusta, and how did that whole thing go?
Unbelievable. The largest burn unit in the country. It's unbelievably, it's impeccable what they're doing. The doctors, I mean, they basically started the entire hospital like we started Sons of the Flag. Very organic, just people having one mission focused and just keeping it to that. And now they're expanding across the country. They're opening up little hubs everywhere. It's fascinating. They're fascinated doctors, and they're fascinated by the injury. And that's what you want in a burn surgeon. Somebody who's fascinated in the injury, and they're going to work that much harder to cure it.
I think also the one thing that all of us sitting at this table have in common, whether you're in that, like the doctors involved with the burn center, or you're the firefighters that are involved in doing the best you can, or if you're in the military such as yourself, doing the best that you can, without the actual heart for it, there's nothing. You know, you have to have the inspiration and the heart for it, and that's what makes us who we are. And I think, I don't know if it's an internal clock or something that makes us tick, but, you know, with going back to the book with why we do what we do, I don't know why we do what we do. It's just born into us that way, you know. Some people just have that gene, and just like me and you found out, some people have the wrong gene. This one's the right gene. And yeah, I just think it's, you know, in order to excel at something, it has to be more than a job. You know, it really does. And I think for all of us, it's more like a calling, not a job. And I think for the doctors, the hospitals that we mentioned, and for the firefighters and for the military, specifically if you go into special ops, it has to be a calling. There's no other way. It was kind of interesting reading Rob's story in the book, and I was like, man, Rob's story sounds a lot like my story. We both started off as kids with our dads doing it, both forced our way into having a program for junior firefighters, becoming volunteer firefighters, becoming career firefighters, becoming rescue firefighters. It's just the way it is, you know. You got to have a thing in your heart for it. So, anybody else got anything on the show they want to bring up? Or?
The other thing I wanted to plug, I know that Bobby's real proud of this year, and it's a very unique thing that FDIC's done, is they've really put a focus, and I think it's probably one of the only conferences of any type that have done this kind of focus, but they've put a huge emphasis on the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
Understanding that firefighters as a whole, just as the military, can go through a lot of stressful situations, and we don't always understand the best way of dealing with them. We think we have a good idea, and a lot of us turn to a bottle or whatever, you know, that's what we think is the best way. But FDIC is actually taking steps to bring in mental health professionals. They're actually having meetings, Friends of Bob meetings scheduled every morning here at 7:30 or 6:30 in the morning. There's people available from the Florian Center here for mental health counseling. So, you know, if someone's here during the week and they feel like they need to talk to somebody, or they just need to reconnect and go to a meeting or something, it's here and available. And I mean, that's a huge commitment that they take to do that for 35,000 people.
So let's, while you're mentioning that, let's plug my buddy, Battalion Chief Dan DeGrice from Chicago. His class is Behavioral Health Issues in the Fire Service. Wednesday morning, that's tomorrow, 10:30 to 12:15 in room 138 and 139. And again, he's been a battalion chief in Chicago. He's been on the job 25 years. So he's in a big city department. Has some experience, obviously, with 25 years. He's been around the block a few times. And really knows what he's talking about with the mental health aspect of it. And one of the things that I talked to him about was, I think about the only good thing to come out of 9/11 is the fact that us service professionals can now go for help without being criticized, where it's actually a good thing. And, you know, I think all of us were old enough to realize that when we started, had you done that and not gone to a bar with everybody, it was the opposite effect. You know, you were kind of chastised for doing that. And now you're being applauded for doing it, which I think that's I don't know anything else that's good about 9/11, but that's one thing that I can actually say that's good about it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, there's kind of a stigma that goes along with it, and you know, we've got to get that education piece. You know, we've got to push it sooner than later. But it starts from the top too. It can't just be, you know, expecting the guy who's having problems to recognize that he's got a problem, because that's the hardest part. It's got to be the education of the line officers and the supervisors that know what to look for, know the signs, and know how to intervene if they do see something happening, because that's where you're truly going to make a difference.
I think one of the biggest things for myself that he hit me with the stat that they had more suicides than line of duty deaths in the 25 years in Chicago. And I'm sure Bert in the military is probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm sure it's probably somewhat similar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to track the exact numbers, but I hear it's pretty high. You know, we've all lost friends from just any kind of service. You know, it's just stressful, and you don't know when it hits you until it's after it's hit you. So, you know, it's definitely, you gotta be that person ready to go up and get that help. You gotta go ask for it, you gotta be public about it, you gotta tell your buddies, confide in them, and they get it done.
And I think having the peers is the biggest thing. And speaking personally from the firehouse where we lost a lot of guys, we had a counselor that worked in the firehouse. And he was a very nice guy, but he was not a firefighter. You know, he was trying to get it. He was really, and he was over trying, but it's just not the same thing. I'm sure you wouldn't say the same thing in the military. If they're not in the same shoes, they really just don't genuinely kind of get it, you know. And we had a suicide in the firehouse, and the counselor was, man, distraught, really distraught. So tomorrow morning at 10:30 the class is, and it's 138 and 139, and I will do the Chief Bolton thing of shaking babies and kissing, how does he say, shaking babies?
Shaking babies and kissing hands.
Kissing hands, yeah. I will be at the door greeting people, so if you have any thing that you'd like to talk about, come down and talk to Chief DeGrice. He'll be there, and you know, talk to somebody. That's the best I can tell you what to do. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. So Myrtle Beach, where I'm from, actually has a ladder truck here. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but the FDNY has a 150th anniversary ladder truck here. It's all decorated kind of very uniquely. I don't know what it is, but it looks unique. Again, our anybody wants to, our booth is 4544. We will be in the booth on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be here all day tomorrow setting up, and whole host of events that we'll be at. Come down, check out our swag, our coins, our shirts, the book, which should be an outstanding thing, and
Of course, you're in it.
of course I'm in it. And I used to tell me to have a face for radio. Now we're doing Google Hangouts, and I'm in a book too. So I don't know. I have to go undercover, I think, or something. And anybody who wants to try to beat me in a 5K on Thursday, come down to the 5K. Last year I did it in a wheelchair. This year I'm actually doing the 5K. And dare I say, we're going to attempt the stair climb in September. You want to fill them in anything on the stair climb? Or?
Yeah, I'll go over some details on that.
Anybody in the stair climb world, pay attention. It's going to be a good one.
So Sons of Flag is partnered with two other organizations in Fort Worth, Texas, the Fort Worth Firefighter Charities and Recovery Resource Council. And we, together, we're hosting a Climb for a Calling is the name of the event. You can find us on Facebook. There's going to be 2 climbs in one, I guess is the best way to say it. There's an 80-story challenge, and then there's a 110-story firefighter and veteran, first responder and veteran challenge. There's going to be a whole slew of entertainment there. There's going to be live musician. There's going to be a local radio station broadcasting live. There's going to be local TV news crews broadcasting live. There's going to be all kinds of vendors, all kinds of military static displays. I'm working very diligently on either getting a military helicopter land on site or a flyby. One or two. That's my big goal with that. So come on down. We're not limiting registration. Registration will open on June the 15th. So watch for that. We've got a pretty unique way of registering for these for the stair climb. It's not like your typical registrations. It's going to be simplified for the smartphone users. Going to be very simplified. So
is this going to be on sonsoftheflag.org?
This will be broadcast. Everything Sons of the Flag. This will be on the Sons of Flag Facebook page, sonsoftheflag.org. It'll be on the Water Brigade Facebook page. Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, all our social media. It's gonna be everywhere.
No, I just thought of something.
Uh-oh.
We talked about everybody that's coming in. You know who we forgot to mention?
What's that?
We forgot to mention our mother, Mary.
Oh.
She's going to shoot us. Our director of development, Mary Meyer, will be here. Come down and check it out. Mary's does a lot behind the scenes, so if you've been to any of our events, come down and say hello to, and shout out to Mary for all she does. Completely forgot about all that.
I have a challenge for everybody that's coming to FDIC this year. So there's what, 35,000 people, or more than that. I challenge each one of you to come by our booth and teach us something about burns. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's out there and it's not being disseminated correctly. So the more we can learn, the better we can benefit. So I challenge you all to come over to our booth and teach us something.
Especially if you are a burn survivor, come by, we want to hear your story. And what we talked about before, taking a burn, you know, we at Sons of the Flag do everything from before, during, and after a burn. And the after part, usually, we like to keep the people in our database to use as a resource to help somebody down the line that might have a similar injury or might be similar age or sex or something to that effect, to be like a mentor. And, you know, just as we talked about with the fire service health professional or the medical or the military health professional, being from our own background, and peer counseling is a huge thing. The same so with the burn survivor. If you can put a burn survivor with a burn survivor, there's nothing like talking to somebody who's been in your shoes. And can't, you know, you can't partner with it any better than that. And I think that's underestimated how powerful that is. And you know, any of you guys ever been burned before?
Nope. I have not.
Yes. So it's an occupational hazard, especially with us, like Bert said, the challenge is us in the fire service. Either you've been burned, you know somebody who's been burned, you've treated somebody who's been burned. Eventually, you have something to do with burns. It's just a natural. It's like having something to do with red lights and sirens. Eventually, you got to use. You know, it's something that comes about, and you know, let's try to take all the resources we got and do the best we can. There's nothing more horrific than some of the videos that we'll be playing at the booth. Not the videos horrific, but talking about the burns. And in particular, the one part I remember recording when they asked me about losing my leg, and I told them that spending time in the burn center was worse than losing my leg. And I'll never forget it, because as much as the pain that I was in, there was a fire in Brooklyn, and I think it was like 6 or 7 kids came to the burn center. I think 3 or 4 of them ended up passing away. I don't really remember the whole story because I was kind of on a lot of medication then, but I remember hearing the screams and all kinds, and it was just awful. I mean, nobody wants to listen. It was just terrible. And forget about the pain that I was in. Just listening to kids, man, there's nothing, you know, having 5 of my own, it's like the last thing in the world that you want to have. You take any pain over having some kid have pain. So, I don't know, man, it's terrible. Well, come by the booth. Let us know your stories if you're a burn survivor. If you want to meet a Navy SEAL legend, come by the booth. No, it's not me.
They do come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. Although I will challenge him to a shooting contest. I'll probably win too.
We can do that.
Anyway, booth 4544. We'll be here till, I'll be here till Sunday. So anybody come by the booth. Again, if you look for the Knox Box Corporation, the big thing up in the air, we're right near there. The number's 4544. Come by, hang out. We got a whole bunch of stuff. The book's really, really cool. And again, helping burn survivors is about paying it forward and doing what we do. Come by. We need help in probably about 20 more states yet. So come by. We're always looking for help. Even if we have the state covered, we're always looking for additional help in each state. We're looking for help at FDIC every year and some of the other stuff. And hopefully the rest of our crew will be here all week. God willing, they all get in safe. You know, Scott, you said they were having some problems with the winds and stuff.
Yeah, it's real high winds,
The planes
40,
coming
50
in.
mile an hour winds, so no problem here.
And man, it's just this event. Remember when we came here the first year and we sat in the saying like, well, we're gonna get a website.
Did we get one?
Yeah, I think we did.
4
fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, literally, we sat at FDIC saying, we gotta get a website.
Yep.
You know, now we got like multiple partners and divisions and all kinds of, it's crazy. And hopefully, before the weekend is over, we will have a fire truck in our possession for our fire, water brigade.
That's right.
And, of course, you can't have a fire truck unless it's an old Mac. So hopefully that's what we'll be doing. And if Brian Farrell's listening, we need to give you a big shout out, and hopefully we'll see you at the Jim Beam party and have a couple of sarsaparillas. And let me just give you that address again for the Terry Farrell Fun Party. Is at Basie's Downtown Grill, 419 West Street, from 6 to 9. That is on Thursday. Man, Thursday's a loaded day.
Just south of Lucas Oil Stadium.
And again, a reminder to everybody listening, when you go to Lucas Oil Stadium, wear your Dallas Cowboys attire.
Come
They
on.
Very similar
Get out of
colors.
here.
They really like it.
Nothing similar.
Don't wear a Johnny Unitas shirt.
Winners and losers, that's the difference. Winners live in Indiana.
Enjoy yourself.
So, and, you know, doing our stuff behind the scenes here is Mr. Scott Nelson. So, Scott, we would like to thank you for all that you do and putting together our schedule and juggling personalities. And how many shows do we have on fire engineering now?
I think there's like 60.
So we have about 60 shows. I know we just did the 1,000th show, if I can speak correctly, 1,000th show not too long ago. And that's a marvel into itself. And now we're doing Google Hangouts, so I'm going to have to get to my 12-year-old at home to find out how I can access Google Hangout, because I am technology challenged. And who do we have coming up on after us?
Anthony Kastros.
So we out of time. We're just about out of time here. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. If you haven't met Birdman, our founder and CEO, come by and find out a little bit about how Sons of the Flag was started. Find out about the meaning of Sons of the Flag. It's pretty cool and interesting. And again, this is about half of our staff that's going to be here, and the booth is 4544. Hope to see everybody soon, and come by and pick up a book and have somebody autograph it for you. All right? Live at FDIC International. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope to see everybody soon. Thanks, brothers.
Thanks.
As soon as it's over, you'll
This
be live.
is, this is home for you?
This is on.
So I got a good night's sleep, so I think I actually have a sense of humor today.
4 glasses and then go out and out with the big man with 4 more glasses.
I had 2 glasses. Maybe that's okay. It feels so good yesterday.
Red wine.
Okay.
Hello, welcome. We are here live from FDIC, and we are amongst a lot of wonderful, dedicated, passionate instructors and firefighters from all around the country and around the world. I believe I heard Bobby say yesterday there are over 50 countries represented at FDIC this year. And I'm sitting here with my wonderful friend, Ed Hatfield.
How's everybody doing today? It's good to be back here at FDIC once again. It's good to be back in Indy. I think a lot of times we sit here, we talk about FDIC and how wonderful the event is. But really, the city of Indianapolis and all the people here are so gracious and such a great host city for us to be at. So I just want to send our thanks out to the city of Indianapolis and all the people here in Indianapolis for hosting this wonderful event and accommodating all of our firefighter-ness behaviors.
Yes. Thank you, Indy. Thank you, Bobby Halton, Diane Rothschild, and Eric Schlett and all the team at Penwell and Fire Engineering for having us. And we're also visible to you because we're being live streamed right now, so we're waving to you on camera.
How's my hair look?
Terrible.
It's good.
Yeah, great. I manscaped this morning, so I do have 2 eyebrows today.
Way too much.
Well, you know, people want to know. So anyway, so yesterday, I think we both taught, didn't we?
Yeah, yesterday I taught the morning session from 8 to noon on functional fitness for the fire service athlete. In keeping with that, it was pretty nice. This morning, a group of us were in the gym and working out, and it's nice to see once again that FDIC is very supportive of the whole fitness aspect of firefighter fitness and fire service athletes. I noticed a lot of guys are out running this morning and stuff like that, which is kind of new to the conference setting. As you know, we all come here and we enjoy ourselves, but it is nice to see that guys are taking their fitness and conditioning a lot more. They're taking a lot more importance on it, and the conference is doing what it can to support that. So previously, in previous years, they've actually opened up the conference center to us early in the morning when weather was inclement, but the weather here has been pretty nice. So it's been great to get outside and work out.
Fantastic. How many female firefighters are coming working out with everybody? So,
You know, I didn't. None of the females came in this morning to the gym, but I do know that a couple of the local CrossFit boxes have some female firefighters that are attending them. I was contacted by some people for that, and then I noticed whether they're female firefighters or spouses or partners of firefighters. I know some females running this morning with fire department related T-shirts. So it's been great. You know, I think a big shift in the industry is that you're seeing a higher level of importance placed on fitness, which obviously affects our performance on the fire ground. And one of the things I talked about yesterday on the CrossFit for Fire radio show is that the level of fitness and conditioning, and you know this, how it parlays into our cognitive decision making as incident commanders. And you know, I think it's just par for the course that when you're tired, when you're unfit, when you're dehydrated, when you're sleep deprived, you're going to make poor choices, which it would be really interesting to see how, when we look at a lot of what goes on in NIOSH, and I actually had a guy in my class yesterday that worked for NIOSH, who helped assemble a lot of the reports, how some of those poor decisions that were made by firefighters that led to fireground fatalities, to see where they were from not necessarily a fitness and condition, but from a sleep deprivation, from a dehydration standpoint. Because I think that we talk about lack of situational awareness on the fireground. We talk about poor incident command, poor decision modeling, lack of accountability. And I think a lot of that has to do with human performance. as well as obviously education, intelligence, lessons learned in that. So it'd be interesting to see that studied as well.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Let's just remind everybody, guests, please call in at 760-454-8852. That's our number. Call in, and we would love to talk to you about just about anything. There is just about anything going on outside these doors, this room. We are on day 2 of the week, and it's all pre-conference workshops and hands-on. So it's been fantastic. I had the pleasure and honor of teaching a 4-hour class in the afternoon yesterday, and it was called Aggressive Commanded Tactics to Make the Grab. And the emphasis of that workshop was getting back to the focus of everything we do in the fire ground for making a save of a civilian victim. And while it's important, the emphasis on our job for the past 20 years has been on safety, specifically RIT, rapid intervention, and everything that goes with safety, and whether it's fitness and PPE or fire ground operations, that's all very important. However, it's my opinion, at least, that we've gotten away from focusing the entire operation around the civilian victim, whether we know they're there or not. And that goes for obviously training and pre-planning is part of that. However, we focused yesterday on, from the moment the bell rings, everything from apparatus placement to communications, accountability, command, tactical decision-making, fire ground pace, and on and on and on. We got into the weeds quite a bit on different tactics of choice given different circumstances, how to do victim profiling, how to focus and teach your officers to read not only the building, but the victim profile, talk to bystanders, look for tactical points of opportunity in the building on early arrival, how to park the right place the first time, how to get the right equipment off the first time, how to train to do that, and then communicate along the fire ground while doing so in an aggressive fashion. And we talked about the window of opportunity to make a save and how that window, as you know, Ed, slams shut really fast, and its seconds matter. And if every company on the fire ground is operating at peak efficiency with little wasted movement, that could add up to minutes, which could add up to a life save. And that was the focus of our workshop yesterday.
I'm just staring at Shannon.
Okay. So anyway, we had about 100 people in the class. It was great, and I'll just keep talking. And
Okay.
So
I'll break away.
one of the new items this week at FDIC, which I think goes to what I was just talking about, is a book from none other than John Mittendorf and his partner in crime, our friend from the Art of Reading Smoke, stroke moment, Dave Johnson. And the two of them signed my book for me today. They just put out a book called The Art of Reading Buildings, which I think is crucial to the whole size of the process. And that's going to, again, help you find tactical points of opportunity, anticipate what the enemy's doing within the battlefield, if you know the battlefield upon arrival. So that's pretty big stuff. And they're here this week. It's nice to see Chief Mittendorf back this year, but he's only here for like 36 hours, and I think he's gone again.
He's probably got to get a hip replacement or something. So the interesting part to what you say has already been broached by our law enforcement partners. And what a lot of people don't recognize is because they're either unwilling or they just don't know, is that the fire service as a whole, and this will lead to another part of our conversation, runs hand in hand very much so with our tactical operations and law enforcement. And a retired commander out of Los Angeles County Fire Department, or Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, by the name of Sid Heel, had written a book about 10 years ago called Tactical Diagramming. And Tactical Diagramming was a book based upon behaviors and expectations of people and for tactical operations on how to undress a building in which a tactical event is going to occur. And so one of the books that I recommend people always to read is Sid Heel's book, Tactical Diagramming. And the reason is because there are certain behaviors based upon suspect or victim profile. Okay, everybody wants to talk about victim profile. Victims react the same way suspects do. And one of the first things that I was taught years ago by a very accomplished captain was when you pull up on scene and somebody is standing out front and they want to give you information as to the potential victim that's inside, the first question you ask is, how old are they? And if they say it's 18-month-old toddler, then you're going to find that toddler in the crib. End of story. If they say that that child is between the ages of 3 and 7, you're going to find them in their room. If they are teenagers, you're going to find them either in their room or in the bathroom. If it's a female teenager, you're going to find her in the shower with the water on because she's afraid of burning to death. Anything beyond teenagers, you're going to find them usually between the fire and the path of travel. And it's also based upon the time of day. Okay, so these are time of day incidents. These are daytime incidents. At nighttime, the incidents are different. And so when we talk about victim profiling, one of the things that we fail to look at is age, gender, and time of day, behaviors. Those behaviors have normative values associated with them. Now, obviously, there's no absolutes. But if you go back and you study where victims have been found based upon their ages, such as the one particular incident, I think it was Palo Alto that we use in our class when we're talking, those two boys were found where? Under the sheets in the bedroom. The mom had exited out, exited out. The fire was in the front half of the apartment. They were in that bedroom. That's why BES worked so well. When we did the UL study, and what a lot of people don't know is that the UL study on vertical ventilation and the impacts on interior fire behavior had a secondary study associated to it by the fire marshal's positions that was also studying smoke detectors. We know that smoke detectors, while they are the #1 source of getting people to recognize there's a fire in the building and getting them out, we also recognize that they don't historically work on children and teenagers. It's just there's something about that, and that's why a lot of smoke detectors now have added strobes. A lot of smoke detectors are voice activated, where they actually have the parent's voice integrated into them, because the parent's voice intuitively will awaken the teenager or the child, where just a beeping noise. Now, I have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I cook bacon every morning, about 4 pounds of bacon, for those of you that are wondering. And if you're looking at me streaming, you can see that has an impact on me. But nonetheless, I cook bacon, so I set off my smoke detectors pretty regularly. And I can tell you that my 8-year-old and my 12-year-old do not wake up. My wife does. She usually throws things at me. But the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old have yet to woken up with the smoke detectors going off. And honestly, all joking aside, probably in the last year, at least 5 times. Very sensitive system in the house that we live in currently. So what we have to realize is that even though the smoke detectors are going off, based upon the age, we're going to find that victim where historically, percentage-wise, they normally are found. And again, toddlers and small kids, you're going to find them in their bed, in their cribs, or in their bedrooms. Teenagers, you're going to find them either in their bedroom. They're not going to be in a closet. They're not going to be hiding under the bed. They're not going to be in a corner. They're typically going to try and make it to a bathroom because they're afraid of burning to death. And they're going to find them in the showers. And then adults are usually found between the fire and the path of travel. Elderly are usually found in their bedrooms as well, or in living rooms. Again, question. It's an elderly lady. Is she ambulatory, non-ambulatory? And then for somebody in the sake of the excitement, can she walk or doesn't she walk? She uses a walker, okay? Bed and or living room. You're not going to find her anywhere else. That's what's important for people to realize, is that there's norms associated to this stuff. Now, Sid Heal, in his book, he talked about suspects do the exact same thing, because humans are used to systems. Humans are used to patterns. Humans are used to routines. And so when you diagram a house, when you do a tactical diagramming or undressing the house, you also have to associate it to that victim and or suspect. And that's going to be successful. And Sid Heal had thousands of tactical operations during his commander at LA County Sheriff's that proved that that's the same. Now, one man has already done the legwork for the fire service. We just need to accept that, absorb that, and make it our own. And that truly is how we need to start looking at things, is stop trying to recreate the wheel and start doing things that, again, have already been accomplished in our law enforcement partners' environment. Because we're dealing with very much the same thing, just with a different twist on it.
Number here is 760-454-8852. Call in. We're talking about, obviously, command. We're also talking about early on detection, victim profiling, whatever term you want to call it, the size up aspect. And that our law enforcement partners are doing a lot, have done a lot in that vein. One of the things we didn't talk about yet is the species of the victim. Because when I teach my class, the first thing I tell people before sex and age and location and all those things which I just talked about, I talk about the species. Because somebody will call their babies, their kittens their babies, they'll call their pets their puppies their babies. And I was just having a conversation with the public information officer from Indianapolis Fire last night over dinner, and she said they recently had a fire where they were told there's a woman and 5 babies trapped in the house. And they went and found the woman, and the 5 babies they were looking for ended up being kittens, and they didn't know this. There was quite a tenuous situation in that there was flashover conditions. They pushed that much further because they thought they were finding 5 human babies. So that's part of the whole victim profiling thing.
Can I tell a story?
No,
Please.
So one of the things about
I'll just stare at Shannon then.
keep starting Shannon. She's nice to look at. She's
I know.
like I can.
And she is.
She is. Well, that's gonna tell a story.
Okay, so true story. And as a company officer, I know that to be true because we arrived on a working structure fire. I gave an arrival report. I was met in the front driveway by an individual who mirrored the images of Richard Simmons, including the Reeboks with the strap. And he was had singed face and was a lot of soot on him, and he was indicating that I needed to save his babies in a very excited manner, much like you would expect. And so we called for a reinforced alarm, which our policy at the time said that any time we had a known or imminent rescue, which the information he was providing to me, he was the homeowner, he was indicating that to save his babies. A reinforced alarm was a second alarm with 2 additional VCs. And called for a reinforced alarm, passed command to the second arriving engine company, and initiated attack. As we were initiating attack, the fire was not that big, not that hot, but conditions were down to about 2 feet off the floor. And as we're pushing in, the firefighter and I, we recognized that there were a number of legs with dresses as we pushed past the living room. But these legs and dresses weren't moving. And so the firefighter began knocking down the fire in the kitchen, was where the fire had originated and was moving. I broke off, went down into the bedroom, doing my best to search the rooms and looking, and I kept knocking things over, which were life-size dolls. And so long story short, at the end of we found no human being. I exited out of the structure as units are arriving and command was being taken place. I talked to Mr. Richard Simmons there, and I said, can you explain to me where your baby is? He goes, they're all over. And I go, are they the dolls? And he goes, yes, I have over 200 and I need them saved. And so yes, so sometimes they're not dogs and cats, sometimes they're dolls.
And here's another tip for you. If you pull up to a house and there's a Greek flag out front and there's 2 pillars and they say my kids are trapped, they're probably talking about goats. Anyway, again, 760-454-8852. We're coming to you live from FDIC International, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Can we talk about something else?
Please, I would hate to get in the way.
Awesome. Okay, so let's
Can
talk.
we get some oxygen in here, please? Thank you.
Well, that's only because I'm out of breath staring at you. Okay, so let's talk about incident command and the incident commander, or a first arriving battalion chief establishing command, a second arriving chief officer of higher rank telling the first arriving battalion chief that I'm going to take over command. I'll be the incident commander, and I'll make you operations.
Why did I know you were going there?
Okay, so go ahead and go.
Go ahead. You want to talk about that?
No, yeah, I do want to talk about that because that just happened to a good friend of mine. That literally, and this is a very good, Class 1, fully accredited Metropolitan Fire Department. I'm not going to say any more. The deputy arrived. The deputy is a paper tiger. He's got all the certs, all the degrees. He's been to all the NFA classes. He's best friends with, everybody back there. And he decided that he was going to become incident commander and let my good friend be operations. But my question becomes, and this is where you can take off. My question becomes, so what are you going to do as the incident commander when you are already taking incident command away from the guy that's running the fire to begin with?
Well,
I mean, why not just become liaison and go shake hands and kiss babies?
Well, it sounds like, what'd you call him, a paper what?
He's a paper tiger.
A paper tiger. Well, evidently, paper tiger is what he maintained on this job because he maintained the ICS authority and look at me having command thing, but gave the actual job away to somebody else, which sounds consistent with the paper tiger mentality. You heard it here first, paper tiger. I'd like to do a shout out to my friends on the other coast in California. I just got your text. A couple of my dear friends from, you don't have no friends.
I know. I thought
You may be doing all the talking, but I have friends.
Dave Dawson's my friend.
That's good, at least you can remember his name. Anyway, so hi to Adam Mitchell and a dear friend of mine who is named John Carr, who is an outstanding individual. Both of them are. I wish you were here, but you're here in spirit. Okay. So we're going to talk about some issues that are probably not on the tip of the tongue of the average firefighter or a command officer, and that is unified command. And this is something that Ed and I are working on from both ends of the spectrum, if you will. Unified command should have been happening the past 20 years, but it hasn't. We all know that. It's nothing new. We could point fingers at the cops and say, oh, they don't know ICS, they don't like it, they don't care about it, look at them. But in reality, we suck at it too. And one of the pitfalls that we have in the American Fire Service is that we try to cram wildland ICS into building fires, into structure fires. And for example, we try to apply the same principles that we would for a wildland fire. For example, typical wildland fire, if it's a large campaign fire like we have in California, those have typically 12-hour operational periods. Whereas in a structure fire, it's a 12-minute operational period because that's how long your bottle lasts on your back. We don't take into consideration oftentimes the barriers to good sound communication on a fireground that we take for granted on a wildland fire. I've had people tell me that the span of control is not an issue because on a wildland fire, they've been able to command 30 different resources. And I said, well, that's nice. I'd like to see you take those 30 resources, stick them in a Home Depot that's burning, and tell me how that's going to work out for you on one tactical channel. So we haven't cornered the market on ICS by any stretch. However, there's an opportunity before us to take the next level with our law enforcement partners and bring them on board while we raise our own game. And so Ed's going to talk about what he's doing down in his neck of the woods in Santa Maria, California. And I'll talk about what we've done at the national level, what we're hoping to accomplish there. Because it's important and it needs to happen on both levels. And as Ed will talk about, it needs to be a ground-up issue, but we also need to think of it from a strategic, larger perspective because the new threat that we're facing out there in the real world is changing by the day. And if we don't address it, we're going to have another significant incident either locally in your jurisdictions or nationally. And my fear is that we're not going to look or act any better than we did on 9/11 between cops and fire. That's going to be the same thing, although the country, Homeland Security, has thrown millions, if not billions of dollars at this problem, and yet we still in the street are seeing the disparity between these two key disciplines who now have to work in synergy together in the new normal that is the American emergency response arena. So with that, I'm going to give it to Ed to take it off of what he's got going on in Santa Maria.
So, it's very interesting, and I want to say that by no means have we the same thing at the corner market or the market cornered here. But I think what we are doing is definitely ahead of the curve. Being a part of something that is being utilized literally on a weekly basis in my community has been huge. I work in a very busy, active community. We have an outstanding
Retirement community, isn't it?
yeah, yes, it's similar to a
El Boca Vista?
El Boca Vista, yes, it's very similar to that. It's a very active community for both law enforcement and fire, and we have an excellent relationship with our law enforcement partners. And it started from the ground up. This is an organic approach. One of our patrol sergeants, who was a previous SWAT supervisor, he invited us, the battalion chiefs, to start attending police briefings and to be able to kind of set some expectations, because the police department at the time was going through a very large growth phase where they're hiring a lot of younger officers. And so we put together kind of a 10 points of light type document where we shared with them the do's and don'ts of structural firefighting for law enforcement. This came out of an event that we had a imminent rescue of a victim. Victim had exited out of the structure on a fire, gone back inside, and 2 police officers followed him in. And although what they did was, you know, in terms of a heroic event, they also suffered from smoke inhalation, some minor burns, and that. And what we tried to explain to the police officers was that that was not necessarily the greatest idea, just from the mere fact that they don't know what they're ingesting from that smoke that could affect them 20 years down the road, as you and I well know. So we shared the do's and don'ts on structural firefighting, where to park your vehicles. Of course, that was a big one. And believe it or not, I'm going to give props to our police department in my community. They don't park in the way anymore. It's unbelievable. They do a great job. So that's where it started, was that organic approach. From there, what we started doing is we started integrating the patrol sergeant and watch commander and lieutenants with the battalion chiefs on incidents that were growing rapidly, that 12-minute operational time period, from a law enforcement perspective. While everybody was focused in on the active shooter event, the one big event, we were focused on things such as vehicle chases with a suspect that has gone to a foot bail to a perimeter search. The idea in law enforcement is very simple, is they want to keep the incident as stable and as minimal as possible. So they don't want to start calling in SWAT teams. And so the idea is that if we could set up a command structure on the incident that is rapidly growing and very dynamic in the front end, then the likelihood of it going to a full-blown tactical SWAT operation is minimized. Let's look at it from a fire department standpoint. If we assign enough resources on a first alarm structure fire, the appropriate amount of resources, and our tactics and strategies are in concert with one another, and we have a strong command structure, the likelihood of that going to a second alarm is not there. So the ideas and the concepts are the same. But what it takes is it takes a strong command structure. So we began teaching ICS from the ground level to our patrol sergeants, our watch commanders, and our lieutenants first. And then we began teaching it to the patrol officers. We started off with ICS 200, 300, and now we're finishing up at 400 area command because of some large scale events that we've had in our community that required that. Then we began applying them on a regular basis. So if I get a police sergeant or a police officer chases a suspect, the suspect goes to a foot bail, they set up a perimeter, that's an automatic BC response. Now, what do we do from the BC standpoint? We integrate effectively right into the incident command structure that the sergeant has already established. This has gone in our community to the point where police sergeants are now driving patrol vehicles, SUVs, that mirror our fire department SUVs. They have command boxes in the rear. They have multiple radios. They have fire department radio. Fire department SUVs have police department radios. I'm actually issued a police department portable. So we have fully integrated and we have full interoperability. While they have their own encrypted radio channel, we can listen to them, okay, and we can communicate to them. What we typically do, what we typically do is, in that situation, is we will manage the incident command process with them in a unified standpoint. We will take over liaison, we will take over medical group, and we will take over any tactical medical operations and manage any outside resources, including air ambulances, private paramedic providers, and that. And that takes all of that off the incident commander's plate as a whole, and then that lets him focus on the tactical operations from their end. And it's working, like I said, on a weekly basis. After every event, we have a tailboard session. We evaluate it. We determine what can be done better. And then monthly, we are sitting down, both sides command staff, and reviewing incidents, evaluating them, and determining what kind of resources we need to do a better job.
Beautiful. That's what's going on in Santa Maria and that community at the street task tactical level. What we're doing nationally is we're out there doing a workshop, and our cadre of instructors includes law enforcement, some tactical SWAT commanders and such, and we're teaching a DHS workshop that's now federally grant funded. So those of you out there in your local municipalities can pay for this using your grant funding, so it's free to you. And we come out for 4 days and send 4 instructors to you who have a wide variety of background and experience regarding large incident management. Many of them are on incident management teams, type 1 teams, and so forth, and have been involved in the national FEMA system for many years. And the objectives of that workshop are to bring together law, fire, hazmat, EMS, local officials, people that would be involved in emergency operations center, people that would be involved from the military, your CERT members, anybody that would be part of a larger response or an area command type of event, and teach them how to get along, how to get on the same page, do incident action planning. We do about 22 simulation exercises culminating in a large area command operation with multiple unified command posts, a fully blown EOC, and expanded dispatch. And it's been really well received. We've done it throughout the country now for a couple of years, and we're excited to keep doing it. If you're interested in that training, you can look us up at trainfirstresponders.com or trainfirefighters.com. And we were fortunate just to launch a video this week here at FDIC International by Fire Engineering that's called Mastering Unified Command from the Hometown to the Homeland. So if you're around, come check that out, look it up. I know Ed's got a lot of stuff going on too. You can reach him at his website as well.
FiretownTrainingspecialist.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at Firetown1, or you can go to our Instagram page at Firetown Training or Facebook page.
Great. Let's close with this, something that we talk about often in this radio show is the Nash 5. And it turns out the Nash 5 is just as consistent with the law enforcement community and their operations. Again, number one, risk assessment. That's the number one thing that's going to go sideways that we're not good at, that can hurt or kill us or delay our saving some civilians. Number two is not setting up an appropriate or robust enough incident command system to absorb the incident. Number three is communications. Number four is lack of accountability. And finally is lack of SOGs, or not following the ones you have or following outdated ones. And it turns out our law enforcement brothers and sisters have these same exact 5 issues on their incidents as well. So we'll close with that. Thank you everybody for watching, listening, and heckling. Thank you to my brothers in Sacramento, Larry Savage, Adam Mitchell, Frank Lima, and John Carr from the Train Division at Metro Fire in Sacramento. Thanks for the love. Bye-bye.
See you on the radio.